Hi and welcome, and thanks for joining us here at the table. I'm Rachel, and joining me today for a real conversation about all things family and life, I've got Shona, Melody and Rach. How are we, ladies?
Good, and you?
Yeah. Good, pretty good actually. I can answer that this week really honestly. Now, I just want to let you know about a slight change we're making to our name. As of today, we are going to be mums at the table. Now, I've just got a quick question, ladies. On a scale of 1 to 10, just a quick question, how happy are you?
Oh, 3?
Really? 3? I didn't quite mean to turn this into a topic.
Was 3 the happiest?
She set the bar. Well, look, the reason I ask is because today we actually have lifestyle medicine expert Dr. Darren Morton with us to chat about happiness and how to be happier. And are you too busy to play with your kids? Are they having the childhood that you'd always hoped for them? We're also looking at the toxins that are in your general cleaning products and what they're doing to your health. Plus, we've got Gia and Olive in the kitchen making some spicy pumpkin soup today. But to kick us off, should women or concerned citizens be allowed to carry capsicum spray or taser guns as a means of protection against would-be attackers? Well, in light of the recent rape and murder of Eurydice Dixon in Melbourne, News.com reported that Victorian MP Jeff Borman is filing a motion to Parliament that would actually allow, and I quote, all reasonable and practical methods of self-defence. Before we get into this, are you girls really comfortable walking out late at night on your own?
I'm from Chicago, so I wouldn't do that just on general principle.
Right.
And I feel a lot safer here in Australia, but just general principle, I wouldn't do that just because I think, you know.
Yeah, which is opposite. I come from Singapore where I roam the streets at 2 o'clock and it's fine.
Yeah.
So, you know.
But how do you feel here in Australia?
I think it depends on where you are.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was going to say, who's going to go for me for a start? I'm too old and crony. But it depends where you are. Like, we're going to Melbourne and there's places I know that you just wouldn't go, same as in Sydney. There's places you just don't go at night time.
Yeah.
But with that being said, it's not just about the places you go. It's like they're, you know, quote unquote bad people who have bad intentions everywhere. Because I've had a friend from living in the States who lived in a great neighborhood and got, you know, something happened to her. So it's not, you can't always just assess it by the neighborhood you're in, because sometimes it's just people have really bad intentions.
So in the name of defence and protecting yourself, should we be putting more weapons, and I say weapons because they're not legal, weapons on the street then, like capsicum spray, tasers?
I actually have a problem with what the MP was actually suggesting because, you know, what he's actually doing is actually putting the onus back on women. So you have sexual assault, right? And so it's the women's job to protect themselves. But then when you look at legislation, right? The reason why, well, it's hard to tell what the real reason is, but one of the real reasons is that the legislation is really lax when it comes to sexual assault cases.
So is it the legal system we need to be pushing the conversation towards?
That's how I feel.
But it's like kind of too late by that point, you know, like as a woman, I wouldn't want to know, okay, if I get raped, then at least I know they're going to be prosecuted, you know?
Yeah.
It doesn't make me feel better.
But then as a perpetrator, right, you know that if you know that you're going to get away with it, isn't it more that you would then commit the crime? Whereas if you know that there's a harsh penalty, it might stop you from doing it as well.
Well, that mentality works for my kids, but as a perpetrator, I don't know. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the fear of punishment.
Yeah. And look, you know, I question putting more weapons onto the streets. We, you know, Port Arthur, we took all those sort of weapons off the street, and we're a relatively, when you look at the United States, we're a relatively safe country because we haven't put those weapons on, they're not on the streets anymore. We're putting tasers into women's hands that don't know how to use them, and they're not a simple object to try and use.
No, and they're actually quite
It can be
illegal
turned
in
back.
that.
It can be turned back on
What
you
happens
as
if
well.
somebody steals, like I said to my husband this morning, oh, what if I had a taser in my handbag? And he said, well, that'd be a bit useless because your handbag's always open. Someone would steal it, you know, and that's the problem.
How do you govern that it's only going to land into the hands of women?
Well, right.
Well, it's like everything, you know, that you could put that sort of across the board because there's lots of things that could be weapons that we've all got access to. So,
But then pepper spray, is it like a little bit a step back, that it's not as harmful, but it can still protect you in those kind of
that
situations?
pepper spray, I would be too frightened. It would actually, well, not too frightened to use it in an attack, but that it would actually come on me because it goes everywhere and it's like people throw up and all that sort of thing. So that's, you're going to get yourself as well, essentially.
Shouldn't we actually be taking a step back in all of this and actually teaching our boys right and wrong?
Yes, we should.
Yes.
Is the quick, easy and right answer.
Yeah. Shouldn't we be teaching men to have some respect for people to have
Yeah.
respect for people.
I think it's a great idea, but I don't think it necessarily empowers women to feel more comfortable walking on the streets.
All right, so would you carry capsicum spray or a taser quickly?
No.
Not a taser, but maybe the spray, maybe the pepper spray.
Right, well, where do you stand? Would you carry capsicum spray in your handbag or a taser? How do you feel about it? Let us know. Jump onto our Facebook page. We'd love to hear your thoughts on it. Well, scrub your floors, do your chores, dear old Sadie. Looks as though you'll always be a cleaning lady. But did dear old Sadie know just how many toxins were in her cleaning products? Wellandgood.com have shared an interesting finding by the University of Bergen in Norway. The study links toxic chemical products with a greater risk of developing breathing and lung issues. Now, this surely isn't a surprise, is it? But I guess the other interesting thing within the study is that, and they did, I think, over 6,000 people over 20 years, so it was a decent study, that it was predominantly women who ended up with these issues, not men.
I wonder why.
I wonder why. I know. I thought
Oh, here we go. Let's beat up on the men. They don't do enough cleaning and da-da-da.
The data was speaking for itself. Like,
the
we didn't
data
make those
said that.
numbers up.
Look, I have to make an exception.
But,
My husband's particularly good.
if you go back 20 years from today, yes, it would have been predominantly women who were cleaning, because women in 20 years ago were staying home.
Okay, so does this sort of information, because one, it's not surprising, but two, would this information help you think about changing the cleaning products that you're using? Or would you just go, well, that's part and parcel, I'll just breathe them in while I clean?
I pretty much only have bicarb and vinegar in my home for cleaning now.
okay.
Like I eradicated those harsh things a long time ago.
What about you, Rach?
I actually don't. I haven't had time to think about these things. It's almost, I feel like a bit of a luxury for me to stop and think about that. I'm just at the point where if I've cleaned my house, I'm excited.
Hallelujah, the house is clean.
On the
Maybe
scale of
after having
priority.
this conversation with you all, I'll go home and have that as another thing that you guys are trying to change in my life. But
Yeah, see, it's not something I'd be in a hurry to change. Yeah.
I'm more interested in it now that I have a child, and I think about the things he's ingesting, and hopefully he's not ingesting cleaning products, but the things he's breathing and everything that's in the house. So I would have a tendency to think about it more now. But honestly, I'm so busy. Yeah, sometimes.
Yeah, I
feel
was
like
the
don't have-
same. I feel like I was pretty naive until I had kids, and my drive to get rid of the chemicals was more about them sort of swallowing it. Here we go, the helicopter parent thing again.
Yep.
But them sort of getting into the cupboard, which I'd read lots of stories about. So
Well,
I'm
you
the
put a
same.
lock on it.
Yeah, no. Well, I just did the same as Mel. I went sort of vinegar and your bicarb soda and your essential oils and stuff like that. So that's predominantly my cleaning regime.
The only reason, the main reason why I did it was, you used to use that bleach thing that you
Yeah,
use to
domestos. yeah. It's all right.
Every time I used it, it would give me a massive headache. And I'm like, I don't want that.
No, I feel sorry for people who are in the cleaning industry who are using those chemicals and they're sort of breathing it in on a daily basis. What are they going to do?
But then it kind of brings it up to this whole bigger thing is that it makes me sound like, this really dirty, grotty person. But are we too obsessed with cleaning as well? And are we too obsessed with getting things super clean?
That's a valid point. Is it sort of ruining our immune system as well?
There is a train of thought that's why a lot of our kids are not as resilient as they were 10 or 15 years
everything's
ago,
clean.
because everything is so 99.9% germ-free.
But I mean, if you're using bicarb and vinegar, you probably don't have to worry about that, huh?
Yeah, but anywhere you go, like any public vicinities are also using those stuff. So you can only control it in your own home, not necessarily outside of that.
But I think in public places, I'd be more than happy for them to make sure they're cleaning thoroughly, like at the gym, at the
especially
hospital.
when you see, like today, there was a thing on the news about meningitis is raised 10% in Victoria, and
Wow.
and you sort of go, oh, how clean are we?
Yeah, I have to
Yeah.
confess, when you walk into public toilets, I'm just like, oh my goodness, help
Yeah.
me get out alive. Well, we're going to move on. We're going to hand you over to some handy home hacks. Well, do you want more stress in your life or less stress? Well, the research actually suggests having less stuff in your home might be the key. But would you get rid of your kids' toys? Would throwing out their toys actually simplify Shona's and everyone else's life? Well, Ali Kazaza wrote about her personal journey with decluttering in the latest Mums at the Table magazine. Now, Melody, how did she do this? It sounds too simple just to toss stuff out.
Yeah, well, she got to a point where she was just really frustrated because, you know, she just didn't have time. She's just thinking about cleaning, thinking of packing up, cleaning up after her kids. And so one day, she just went in and she basically sorted out the toys to the ones that the kids actually played with and just gave away the rest.
What about doing that with your own stuff? I mean,
Well, she did, didn't she?
Yeah.
Did she go ahead?
I think,
started
I'm
there,
sorry.
yeah.
I think of it more from the beginning part. I don't even collect that many toys. Like, we don't buy that much for Jax. I think he's pretty happy with the few. Sometimes I give him an egg carton and tell him to go be creative.
But that's not a bad idea, is it?
Yeah, just because we don't have a lot of space to be collecting tons
But that's the thing. I have been to houses where there are a lot of toys.
Yeah.
And,
And it's so hard to clean up. That's my big beef. And I try and get my kids to clean it up. And I've had so many arguments and like disparaging like times with them going, oh my goodness. I'm like, I've got to get rid of these. But I haven't gone through and followed through all the time. So we still have a lot of toys.
And you guys have still only got 2-year-olds. You wait until they're about 4 or 5 and you haven't cleaned out the 1 and 2-year-old toys. You do actually need to go through every so often and especially I had 2 boys, so we had a lot of building blocks and trains and things that quite frankly, the boys weren't interested in. That their choice of toys were other things. So we did that. Every so often we'd go through and clean out the toy box and give them away. Or
did you clean out the toy box with the boys?
Nah.
No, you did it on your own at night while they're asleep.
No, well...
I think what has happened with us is that we are the youngest of cousins, so we get a lot of hand-me-downs, so we don't end up actually buying anything, and I don't even think, oh, let me go get something. I don't even have the time to think about it, and someone has given us something. So I think I would feel guilty now getting rid of the things people have given us. I don't know how to get rid of the hand-me-downs. Like, do we give them back, or what do we do with them?
I actually pass them to someone else with a kid. Yeah.
Go to Vinnie's or, somebody else.
My neighbour across the hallway has a kid who's about 6 months younger than Elliot, so it just walks across the hallway.
What I've done with, because my sister has younger kids than me, so what we've sort of done at Christmas time is I've said to my kids, all right, choose a toy that you're not playing with or you're not using anymore, and we sort of swap, we do a cousin swap at Christmas time, and that's sort of their gift to each other. So I know we're getting a new toy in, and it's not necessarily decluttering, but it's a way that they get sort of recycled. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But, you know, it really helps because I know I do this decluttering probably once every 3 months because if I don't, it gets me really frustrated because I'll be like, there's just so much stuff. I live in a small 2-bedroom apartment.
So you have to be.
Yeah. And so it actually does help, like, you know, just getting rid of the stuff and knowing that there's less stuff in your life. It doesn't, you can breathe easier.
Declutters the mind.
I've always said, like, the sign of a cluttered house is the sign of a cluttered mind. And I always say it with myself in mind. So I'm not, no one else.
No, even before I came here today, I was just going on a fury of cleaning because I'm like, I'm so stressed about other things. If I could just see some cleanliness in my house, it would, like, help organize everything else inside my head.
Your wardrobe's a good one. I hate getting into the wardrobe and going, what am I going to wear today? And there's, you know, a rack of clothes and you're just like, no, just start.
Yeah, sometimes too many options for kids is not necessarily a good thing.
Yeah.
Did you keep any, like, toys that were sentimental for your kids at all?
I have a few things that I've kept for the boys for when they have children, but not a lot. Just a few things that were sentimental for me.
Yeah, I've got some that my parents sort of gave me when I was a little kid when we were growing up in New Guinea, and they've sort of brought them out and they're really unique and different. It's something to think about.
I'm not too sentimental, so I chuck stuff away, and then after I do that, my husband go, oh, that was his first
We're going to take you into the kitchen now. We've got Gia and Olive there cooking some spicy pumpkin soup.
Hi everyone, we're making spicy pumpkin soup.
Well done.
Oh, that was awesome. Guess who's cooking it today? Auntie Shona. Nanny Shona. We're going to call her Grandma. Remember we said that the first time?
Oh, gee.
Granny Shona. No, but we have some special food today. Shona, what are you making us?
I'm going to make a spicy pumpkin soup. It's out of my mother-in-law's cookbook, but like all good recipes, once you get hold of it yourself, you tweak it a little bit. So I've tweaked this one just a little
I'm
bit.
excited. I can't believe Shona's mother-in-law, who was born in Sri Lanka, wasn't she?
Yes, she was.
And she travelled the world and she used different recipes. This is called the vegetarian, complete vegetarian, but she's also got like the Asian, what's the Asian one called?
Complete Asian Cookbook. She has 33 books she's written in total.
Yes, and you can get them online or even at any
Really good bookstores.
bookstores and stuff. But I'm very excited. I was looking through this and she's got like hazelnut praline ice cream. I was like,
Well, that'll drop the veganism.
I know, stop it. Keep going.
Okay, to start, we're
gotta
going
help
to
us.
put 1.5 tablespoons of oil. If you were an authentic Indian, you would use ghee, but we're going to use oil. Then to this, your oil doesn't need to be boiling or anything. You just need to plonk all this in because it's going to cook itself. We're going to put 1 kilo of Jap pumpkin. Now, I use Jap because it's sweeter than butternut. You can use butternut, but
it cooks easier, doesn't it? It cooks
yeah,
quicker.
It does, and it's smoother.
What's the green stuff you put in there?
The green stuff is parsley.
Okay, parsley.
Okay,
From your garden, you said.
Yes.
I'm impressed.
I
I'm
went out
impressed.
this morning and picked that. I'm also going to add, this all just goes in together, I'm going to add a teaspoon of salt, a teaspoon of turmeric, a teaspoon of garlic, and a teaspoon of coriander.
Oh,
okay?
It's gonna be so good.
I'm going to add a teaspoon of cumin, a teaspoon of cinnamon, because my mother-in-law hates cinnamon in
And you put
desserts.
cinnamon in it.
Cinnamon is for savoury. Now, this one, controversial. You can put in as much chilli as you like. You can use fresh, you can use powdered, you can use flake, whatever you like. I just put it in because my boys like a bit of heat.
Do they?
Yes.
Okay, so that's a Sri Lankan background they've
Yeah,
got.
that's it coming out. So I will just put in a smidge for us.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, that's very schmidge. You know what? My daughter hates spicy. My son loves it, and he's only 2. So.
And this is 6 spring onions, so basically a bunch of spring onions just chopped. It doesn't have to be finely chopped
So easy.
because you're going to blend it.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
because it's a soup. This one I add because I found it really difficult to get my little children to eat pumpkin. So I put a tablespoon of honey.
Okay. So
All
that
right.
just gives it a touch of sweetness.
Just a touch of sweetness. And you're going to let this...
But kids that don't have an issue with pumpkin can have it without
don't
the
need
honey.
it.
Yeah.
Don't need it. You can hear it sizzling.
Yeah.
You can just...
So you don't mix it or anything?
No.
No, you just leave it
Just
as it is.
leave
That's
it like it is. And this
Awesome.
is 3 cups of vegetable stock that we're going to put in.
So what about all the spices? You don't need to mix them through or anything?
No.
Oh, you are cheeky. Get up.
And we're just going to let this cook away for about 20 minutes until the pumpkin is tender. And then we'll come back.
blend it. Okay. We'll be back. But how long has yours been cooking for now?
It's been cooking for about 20 minutes. Your
So
soup.
you're just going to use like a hand blender?
I am.
A bar mix?
Bar
whatever.
mix, and I'm just going to blend this down.
It's going to go everywhere. I'm sorry.
So you can blend this down as much as you want. You can have it chunky-ish, you can have it really smooth. I like it really smooth and velvety, and that's what it looks like.
Oh, that's awesome. Can we get some out of there?
We sure can.
In my family, we love to add a little bit of coconut cream.
There you
Wow,
go.
okay, I'm gonna put some of that on top.
Just a wish round that. That's it.
There we go.
Perfect. Oh, Gordon Ramsay, eat your heart out.
I'm gonna try it.
Go for it.
I wanna try it. It looks awesome.
It's hot. You need some crusty bread or some naan if you're really good at making
Wow.
naan.
Wow.
Yeah.
Can you
Wow.
You could put
what?
we put
Do you reckon
coconut
it's
milk.
the spices that.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
That is amazing. You guys need to try this soup.
Much.
You will love it.
Yum, that looks pretty good. I'd go for some of that right now. Well, for more easy recipes, you can get a free copy of today's cookbook, More Nature's Superfoods. All you have to do is email us your name, your postal address, and the name of today's cookbook, More Nature's Superfoods, to our email at hello@thetabletv.com. You can also call us in Australia or New Zealand, and the numbers are on your screen now. Well, did you know that Australia and New Zealand are in the top 10 happiest countries in the world? But how happy are you? Are you just thriving or are you surviving? Well, today with us to chat about living more happy is internationally renowned forward thinker, author, public speaker and educational leader in lifestyle medicine, Dr. Darren Morton. Dr. Morton, thank you so much for joining us today. I listed off like a whole sort of credentials there for you. I'm sure there's more to add to that though.
Well, then after you said that, I can hardly wait to hear what I'm about to say.
I know, me too. Let's get into this.
Yeah.
So we are in the top sort of 10 happy countries in the world, but then you read statistics like 1 in 10 Australians are taking antidepressants, and in New Zealand, in the last 10 years, prescriptions for antidepressants have risen by over 60%. So is this a mismatch of information we're getting here?
Well, look, I mean, the great news is Australia is in the top 10 countries in terms of the happiest in the world.
Where's
we
New
made
Zealand,
it number 10.
by the way?
Oh, I knew
Where's New Zealand?
I knew that would come up. So, yes, and New Zealand does outrank us.
Yep.
2 places ahead.
I know when they're colder, how could that be? But
Well, Australia comes in at number 10.
yeah, okay, so we just
this
slip
year,
in.
We're slipping. Last year was number 9.
Oh.
But look, even that said, you're right. In Australia, we know that 1 in 10 Australian adults are taking antidepressants each day. That's doubled in the past decade.
Yeah.
And so the science seems to suggest, the statistics seem to indicate that there are probably about 20% of people that are reporting that it's really flourishing in life. I mean, that's fantastic. Then down the other end of the sort of mental health continuum, we probably have about 20% of people that are really struggling, which leaves there's probably 60% of people in the middle that, hey, wouldn't say they're down, but
I wouldn't say they're happy
they're
either.
not up either. Yeah.
Interesting.
So nature versus nurture, happiness. Is it just in a person's nature to be happy?
Yeah, that's a great question. And so the science on this is quite fascinating. It indicates that probably about half of our enduring happiness, now we're not talking about how happy you are right now, because you may have got fined by the police because you were speeding on the way here. But, so obviously our mental health will fluctuate over the course of the day. But when we look at enduring happiness, probably 50% of that is determined by our genetics. And this is why we know some people are naturally bubbly and happy, and other people are a little bit more forlorn and perhaps even sort of see the glass as half full as compared to half.
But I was just wondering, does mental health, is it really gauged by happiness? Some people might just be kind of, as you were saying, level and content. And is that really the best gauge for, checking someone's mental health?
Yeah, it's a great question. So once again, the science, from a scientific perspective, we view happiness, and that word happy can sound a little bit trite at times, but really it's something deeper than that we're interested in. We're scientists, we call it subjective personal well-being. And it's made up of 3 things, essentially having positive emotion, so that's a good thing.
So what do you think of as positive emotions?
Well, joy, peace, contentment, excitement, all of those sorts of things. Not having too much negative emotion, which are, anger, guilt perhaps, and some of these emotions. But then this other really important component, which is overall satisfaction with life.
Okay, so you've written this book here, like Live More Happy. And so you've been researching this for what, like 10 to 15 years, I hear? So there's a lot of science that's gone into this.
Yeah.
So what are some of the practical ways people can sort of think about to get more happy? Because if you think about it, mums are, like young mums particularly, are in the trenches and it's a really hard, difficult time. So what are some practical ways that they can think about to get happier?
Yeah, and look, there are many, this is the key essence of my message. There are many evidence-based things that we know work to help people improve their mood and in so doing improve their life. And they're coming from positive psychology, these strategies are coming from lifestyle medicine, but they're things like motion creates emotion.
So
Ooh,
exercise.
What does that mean?
What does that mean?
What does that mean? And I know what you're going to say here. It's that E word, isn't it?
I didn't use the E word because I know that most people equate exercise with pain and sweat, right? But
yes,
you don't
that's
need to
true.
exercise. As a health expert, I can tell you don't need to exercise. All you need to do is move. Right? We actually know that when people just move, and the more dynamically you can move, whether that's just moving in...
Fantastic. tick for the day.
We know that when people do that kind of stuff, for probably within 2 minutes, their mood lifts.
So like taking the baby out for a quick walk,
anything, play, just move. When we know that when you move your body.
So what are some of the other ones that you've got there though?
So one of the other that goes along, and you've alluded to this, is blue and green should often be seen. And what we know is the science behind getting outside is incredibly powerful for improving people's emotional well-being. And I would say this to mums of kids, get them outside. kids need to get outside. We know particularly bright light in natural environments, blue and green spaces, very, very powerful.
So out to the playground, out in the backyard, down
Moving
to the
dynamically,
beach,
all
put them
of
in the
that's
water.
fantastic.
Yep.
I've sent my kids outside as a punishment before. I'm like, run to the fence and back 10 times. Tell you what, they come back happier.
I like that punishment.
I shouldn't say that word. That's not good. Some other ones.
Oh, look, there are things like food feeds your mood. We know this is very powerful. And, you know, I've moved away from telling people what they're eating incorrectly.
Oh, good. Thank you.
I actually encourage people to eat more. And what we need to be eating more of are plant-based foods.
Yeah.
We know that foods that are high in fibre feed your guts, improve your gut health, and your gut is actually your second brain. We know that we actually know that people who consume more fruit and vegetables generally are happier. And there's a dose-response relationship here.
You know, there's one thing that you're saying that I think is encouraging for me. It's like improving your mood, because I think there's a lot of pressure nowadays to be happy, and for people to feel like if they're not quite hitting that mark of happiness, that it's, you know, they're somehow not succeeding in life.
Yes.
But it sounds like you're saying improving your mood, you know, which is, you know, it's kind of another dimension of this idea of happiness, you know.
Look, I think this is a really important point. I'm more about direction as compared to destination, because the reality is, you know, wise Solomon once said, there is a time to laugh and there's a time to cry. You know, we all have these. So I'm being real about this.
We have our ups and downs.
But it's not that all of us can be glowingly happy 24/7. That's not realistic.
That's unrealistic, isn't it?
It's
And we're
unrealistic.
portraying
It's a lot of
that.
pressure.
Yeah.
Some people hear that message and they feel even more stressed. Like,
Yes.
how can I get to that point of being
Yes.
happy? But
While we can't do that, what we can do is on a daily basis take active steps to move up the ladder, up the emotional
So
wellbeing
even if we
ladder.
take one rung up from our happiness, then we're
That's a positive
achieving.
thing.
Yeah.
We know that happier people live longer, they're healthier, they're more productive.
Oh, I'm going to live for a really long time, aren't I?
They're better parents. They're better parents. You know, they're better influencers. We actually know that one of the chapters I have is called "Together Feels Better." You know, and we know this. We know that we all have mirror neurons in our brain, and we feed off each other. And this is why people's emotional state influences others. And this is, you know, when we're caregivers, it becomes really important that we self-care, look after ourselves, so that we can be that positive influence in the
Yeah, that
lives of
also
others.
ties into sort of, you know, being that village, and that's what a lot of mums are always looking for, sort of being part of a village. Is that what you mean by together is better?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
And what about gratitude? Where does that come into it?
Yeah, look, and coming out of the positive psychology world, there are some fascinating things. We know that having a positive focus, a positive orientation towards the past, gratitude,
It's good.
present,
There you go.
future, hope. You know,
There are
that's
lots of ways that we can sort of be happy. Dr. Morton, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. We've actually got a few of his books to give away. So if you're interested in one, just check it out on our social media. There's a limited number, so get in while you can. Ladies, a pleasure as always. Loved your company. We will see you next week. Thanks for joining us. Bye.